Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today I am going to be talking about Lindsay Ellis apologizing to Stephenie Meyers. Okay, by the way, this content contains spoilers for all 4 books in the Twilight series. Okay, so Lindsay Ellis is a film critic, and she's a very different type of film critic. She generally doesn't just take the latest movie and review it. What she does is she takes classic movies that are highly successful, shows that are highly accessible a little bit. Mostly she's a film critic. Then she takes those shows and she talks about them specifically from a feminist perspective. Talks about women's issues and how women are portrayed in these movies, the opportunities they have in these movies, the characters generally, and the opportunities they don't have, and other aspects that are specific to women in film. She's really smart. She has a YouTube channel. She's a YouTube commentator. She's a YouTube film critic. She went to film school, right? So she has a film school degree, and she's very knowledgeable of film. I really enjoy her channel. I listen to a lot of her stuff, and I really enjoy it. Recently, she did a video that absolutely warmed my soul because Lindsay Ellis apologized to Stephenie Meyers for the way she had covered specifically for the way she covered Twilight 10 years ago. The way Lindsay Ellis commentated on Twilight, Stephenie Meyers' books 10 years ago. And Lindsay Ellis apologized to Stephenie Meyers. And the reason why is she read the books 10 years ago. Actually, she said she admitted she started talking about how much she hated the books before she'd even really read the books, right? And that, okay, so I want to put context. Why would I even take the time to talk about this? All right, so I am a Stephenie Meyers fan. Specifically, I am a Twilight fan, right? Now, actually, I have not read any of Stephenie Meyers' other books, and she really doesn't have many other books to even look at other than Twilight. But in my opinion, Twilight is a modern masterpiece. It is absolutely one of the best book series I've ever read, and I think Stephenie Meyers is among the top echelon of modern writers. She stands with J.K. Rowling. She stands with Neil Stephenson. She stands with certainly with Stephen King. She's just incredibly good. Brandon Sanderson, I'd put her at that level. Robert Jordan, all those are her peers, her writing peers. Not writing peers as they are writers, but they are successful writers who are incredibly good at the craft of writing because they have demonstrated it through writing incredibly good books with incredibly compelling characters. And in addition to that, they have caught the zeitgeist of the culture for a period of time, right? And I think that's the key. Is she's a world-class writer, Stephenie Meyers. Now, virtually no one that I talk to agrees with this, right? There are many women who enjoy the Twilight series, but they consider it just a normal series, right? And I read all the Twilight books cover to cover, and it was really a special time because I read them all, my wife read them all, my oldest son read them all. So, and we read them all together. My son was about 14 or 15 at the time, maybe as young as 12, right? And so it was really fascinating to read those books and be able to talk about them as a family, right? And they were really good. I really enjoyed them, right? And so if you're out there, I think there's a really good chance that you have a dismissive attitude toward the Meyers books. And the reason why I'm saying that is the vast majority of people do have a dismissive, especially if you haven't read it. I'm saying if you have not read the Stephenie Meyers books, you probably hold the opinion you have based on people complaining about it, other people complaining about it who have not read them, right? So here, and then a few people will read them, and they'll say they were okay. That's almost, if somebody hates the Meyer series, and then is convinced by someone who loves the Meyer series to read it, they'll walk out saying it was okay. And the reason why is, I think they're kind of front-loaded to hate the series, because there is so much hate in the public for the series, even though people haven't read it, right? And that's just it. So one, I just want to take a moment here and say, read Twilight. Read all 4 books of it. It is fantastic, right? Now, here's why. Bella, the main character, is a terrible, terrible person who makes bad choices, right? Now, that is exactly the same as Walter White, okay? Bella is Walter White, a terrible, terrible person who makes bad choices, and the story is driven through bad stories, through bad choices, right? So one of the things that I learned through reading Twilight that I think Stephenie Meyers understands is good drama and good stories are not driven through good choices of good people, right? If you are a good person and you make good choices, your life is going to be incredibly boring, right? And that's why we go to fiction, is we can see the drama and all the angst and all the pain that bad choices make by characters where the pain is fictional, right? And that's the issue. In real life, we want to have boring lives where people aren't hurt, where people are safe, and where choices honor people and show respect. And that is fundamentally boring, okay? And so we live boring, safe lives, and we read awesome, unsafe, non-boring fiction. And that's what the Twilight books are. It is a terrible, Bella is a terrible, terrible person who makes bad choices, and the drama it drives through the stories is absolutely fantastic, okay? And the reason why I'm talking about this today is Lindsay Ellis is a smart lady who trashed these books 10 years ago, has reread them and realized that the Twilight hate is stupid and ignorant. And that's my, sorry, I should not say, I'm going to back up. Twilight hate is not stupid, okay? Because there are a lot of people who hate Twilight who are not stupid. Twilight hate is ignorant, lacking knowledge. I would say 99% of all Twilight hate comes from people who have never read the books. So if you're a Twilight hater and you've never read the book, check out Lindsay Ellis's awesome apology to Stephenie Meyers, where she acknowledges Meyers as a talented writer and apologizes for the wrongful judgment she had on those books 10 years ago, getting on the bandwagon of ignorance, right? And so that's my point, is that Twilight hate comes from ignorance, a lack of knowledge, right? So if you're out there and you're a Twilight hater, stop being ignorant. Go read the books, okay? Now, if you read the books and you still hate them, right, I'm willing to hear you out. Like, I'm really curious why you feel that way, right? But I really believe once you read it, you're going to see that Bella is a really compelling character. She has a really interesting relationship with her parents. She has an interesting relationship with Edward. She has an interesting relationship with Jacob. His world is one of the most interesting things in the book. It really is an interesting, it's an interesting lens on the area of Seattle. They are just fantastic books. And I am tired to death of hearing people down Stephenie Meyers when she's one of the greatest writers of our time. And so I really, so if you really think that's not true, read the books. Or if you don't want to read the Twilight books, that's totally fair. You don't have to read the Twilight books, but don't spread Twilight hate. Don't be one of the people who echoes ignorance. And that's what Twilight hate is. It is ignorance. It is a dislike for something that comes from a lack of knowledge of the thing. So yeah, I know it's a really kind of odd video. Just wanted to take a minute to put in my my good word for Stephenie Myers. Take care.